Hello, everyone. Welcome to what the hell are we calling this? I guess it's just our weekend show. I think actually we're doing this live on YouTube, so it might be a fun conversation. We might have some funny people pop in. You never know. But I did notice, we had a sizable break in price in Bitcoin overnight. Usually I don't do videos on Saturday. Usually it's my day off, but considering there was this much volatility injected into price, and I kind of wanted, I tweeted this image out earlier today, and people in the lounge, this is sort of our daily roadmap kind of idea. So I thought maybe we'd just take some time and try and explain what they're seeing here. I know one person in the lounge, Kevin, he when I posted this, he was like, okay, so can somebody please interpret what the hell Brian's saying here? So that's consider that sort of the purpose of this conversation. Hey, there's Kevin. That's a different Kevin. That's our Kavark. And actually, somebody was asking on the site yesterday, well, does anybody know any half-decent setups that are working in the market right now? And I was like, have you met Kevin? Have you met the Kavark? Because the Kavark is just kicking ass these days. But anyway, like I said, I wanted the primary conversation about this was just to try and explain, especially since I think we put this out on YouTube. I think it's running on YouTube, but I have no idea. I see that there's about a dozen people sitting over there. Somebody over on YouTube want to just say hi. Yeah, okay, so Kevin there, he says, can you see my chart here? Well, Kevin, post your chart in the lounge, and then I'll just put it up, okay? He usually does it. Well, I'm looking here now. I'm seeing you. Anyway, I'll just play it. Yeah, there you are. So Change Society. Oh, there's an interesting crypto name. Anyway, so yeah, so FYI, if you don't feel like being in the lounge today and not sort of in the spotlight, you can always watch on the YouTube page. I thought just really on balance, like I said earlier, I just wanted to take a few minutes and just speak to the community a little bit about what the hell's going on with Bitcoin price right now. So first things first, I always like to start, all of our sort of daily brief shows. We do about an hour-long video Monday to Friday. Use yesterday, as school's out right now, so yesterday's daily brief I went almost 2 hours. Whoops. But anyway, I think we had a lot of fun. So, hey, Nick Jowsey says, finally made it to the Google Hangout. Welcome, Nick. Yeah, we're live on public YouTube now, so we better be careful. And Tom, hey, isn't that interesting how we had little old lady levels on our charts? And because I was looking at one of Tom's charts yesterday, or the day before, I couldn't remember, but he actually had pointed out specifically where the next little old lady sell level was on Bitcoin. And isn't that incredible? I mean, that's just sick. Right, and all that is, it just doubles off of the original breakout level. I mean, that's just stunning. But anyway, and actually, I posted this chart out as well this morning too for the Twitter and sort of general public audience. I found it interesting that when we looked at this chart. And sort of the basis of what I've been thinking over the past while is I think that there was some sort of basing event here, especially following the ETF event. That's the ETF event way over there. And I'm always asking myself, because I believe, even though it's really painful for the sort of non-fatalist to believe it, but I really believe when it comes to asset prices, sort of expression of our sort of collective perception of value, because really that's all this chart is. It's what you and I collectively perceive this thing is worth. It has a very, and the only way I like to describe it is symmetrical behavioral pattern. We often see that price moves in very almost very coordinated fashion, whether you're a fan of things like Elliott Wave or, you know, things like the ghost patterns that we used to do on the Coinigy shows. I remember even a few years ago, we did a great symmetrical study on IOC. And it was remarkable to watch how IOC, they just brought it up, like, and the symmetrical, the way the market followed the symmetrical pattern, it was just stunning. So I'm always asking myself, is the market trying to speak to us and in this sort of symmetrical fashion? And what I noticed off of this $2,500 pivot is there was a very symmetrical pattern. I had originally started this study with one of these curve charts, which you can just simply go to, you know, especially sites like TradingView make it really easy. They have this little curve function here, and I just sort of played connect the dots off of these lows. And that's sort of how I started this sort of thought pattern. And I noticed that, you know, just the basic curve off of these lows connects in through this reversal low and sort of paints this sort of parabolic move in price, if you will. And then, you know, I was thinking more about, okay, is the market, you know, because I always believe the market's trying to speak to us. And so is there any sort of, you know, fulcrum pivot where it looks like maybe it's a midpoint of a move? And, you know, $2,500 is a really interesting psychological level. And I don't find it an accident, coincidence whatsoever. Here we are up around 5,000. It's a very symmetrical, in a weird sort of way, parking garage kind of concept of repricing assets. I wouldn't be surprised to see that 5,000 access the same sort of pivot as 2,500 did, but you know, only time will tell. This something I will say that actually bothered me a little bit, and I'm a big fan of. I used to watch a guy called Eugene Peroni. I remember I used to follow him as the Dow was approaching the big 10,000 mark. Geez, that's a few years ago, eh? Jeez. And it was really interesting because he made a comment, and I still remember it to this day. This is back in the 90s, where if you see an asset move towards a big fat round number, ideally, what you'd like to see is you'd like to see the market shoot past the big fat round number and then come back and actually consolidate just below the big fat round number. And then that way, that sets an institutional base so the market can come back to the big fat round number. And if it moved below the big fat round number and consolidated, then all of those lows are actually going to be the institutional support levels. And that made a lot of sense to me. So the first thing that I noticed, and when I was looking at these studies and doing these, you know, very simple extension studies off of the breakout to new highs here, I noticed that 1.618 is 5,023. And 200% is 5,300 and change, which sort of it filled me with a lot of encouragement. I was like, okay, cool. You know, we might have a nice Eugene Peroni scenario, zip up past 5,000, then come back and consolidate. And then hopefully, you know, bullish resolution following that, 5,000 becomes our new base. Well, that didn't quite happen. And I'm a little bothered that now 5,000 actually is a bit of a psychological ceiling here. So we'll see how this goes. I'm a little disappointed that our high here on Stamp was 49.79. But, you know, I mean, do we have any significant breakdown here off of the daily charts? Actually, the message that I was giving to people on Twitter and in the lounge and stuff is I'm kind of thinking just in the short term, and you often see markets do this, very normal, where you get a breakout to new highs, and there are going to be a lot of people that want to buy. They actually like to wait for like 2-day validation. In fact, I used to know one trading system that required 2-bar confirmation of whatever the breakout level was before you could even think about entering the trade. And you know, we talk lots on the site and in our daily briefs about the evolution of you as a trader. Hopefully you can appreciate things like waiting for 2-bar confirmation. Well, that's definitely a lot slower, a lot more conservative. Some of our trader gunners like Ian are doing 20 trades in that while we're waiting for that 2-bar confirmation. So we do have to appreciate that, you know, not every trade and not every trade setup is going to be appropriate for every type of trader, and we have to understand what type of trader we are and, you know, who's acting where. So with regard to this breakout here, the more conservative, the more staid investors are going to say, I'm going to require a 2-bar breakout. And quite often, I used to see this happen time and time again. In fact, we could argue this is, if anything, that what's happening right now here is, you guys hear me talk about the Wyckoff cycle. All right, if we pop on over to, where the hell is our Wyckoff cycle? Here it is. This could very easily be just a markup and a check of previous breakout levels. This happens all the time in markets. Very normal. It's actually a bit dangerous to call tops on V tops or V bottoms. Right? And this is actually a big part of why we like to work with this concept called market structure. You know, M's and W's and all that kind of concept. But in essence, this could very easily, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but it could very easily be just simply they broke the market out. Who do you think, you know, especially if we go down to lower time frames, who do you think was buying up here? You think any institutional players are going to be buying that breakout? Way up top there? Not likely. And actually, you could even see it on exchanges like Japan. Where's our Japan chart? We've been following this trend channel for quite a while now, right? And I remember yesterday saying, you know what, we were sitting in here yesterday and I was like, you know, there's a hell of a lot of room to the upside here. So as we're coming into these levels, I mean, look how price just went parabolic. Yeah, moon, right? All the people that are like, moon, 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 right? I can't, Lambos, yeah, exactly. You know, and that's the sad part about this game, right? Is that clearly this was a horrific trade location to be thinking about being a buyer. And also too, and you know, this is a shout out to one of our veteran site guys, and it's great to see him back in the community because I think a lot about Raf. He's a fantastic guy, just absolutely a heart of gold. You know, about 3 or 4 days ago, he was even asking, Brian, do we have an inverted head and shoulders that I could trade here on Bitcoin? And I was like, sure, it's there. You know, buy on a break of this, have your stop just below here and live with the results. And it was really interesting to watch how for a day or two, it was just like, I don't know, Ralph, man, this is looking tough. Oh boy, this is, but if you notice, and this is why you have to build trading plans. This is why you have to say, if this happens, I act, and this is exactly where I'm going to risk to, and this is exactly where I'm going to take profits. Because when we were going through here, the irony of taking this head and shoulders is there really was nothing to do. You're just like, Brian, shut up. I'm in the trade. I've got my risk level. Get out of my face. And sure enough, I thought this was so cool. Look where the market rallied up to, right? Right up to his level, ding, 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 and then just crapped out. Isn't that cool? I mean, the long and short of it is there probably were some institutional players that probably had this objective, and when they hit that, and, you know, as a tell to you guys, right? And remember we were doing this channel in the lounge and stuff. When you see price going like this, this is your sort of end of the move kind of talk, not beginning of the move. Does that make sense? I sure hope so. And it's fairly common sense, right? This is the definition of moon, parabolic. You never know where the hell these damn tops are going to finish. Don't get me wrong. I suppose, you know, like we said, guys like Raf, they use that move to take profits. The sad part about it, like we said a few minutes ago, is who was buying this push up here? Certainly wasn't Raf, right? He was selling. So, back to our story. Higher time frame players, not buying up here, they will actually just park their order right at that level and will just simply say, the market comes back to my level, I'll buy. And I kind of think that that's basically what's happened here. If we go down to a lower time frame, I still feel like this, there's that 5,000, just above 5,000, 1.618. That's a hell of a fib harmonic. I'd actually be a little surprised if we didn't hit this 1.618. That's pretty rare. As well, too, I'm also a bit surprised that the big fat round number wasn't tagged. Now, I did see some people were posting in the lounge 5,000 prints on some sites. I can't find a $5,000 print on my charts, right? This high is 49.79.90. And then, when I go through all my little matrix of charts that I like to follow, I don't see, excuse me, there's that stamp high. The tether, he got up into the 49s, but I don't see anything above 5,000. Coinbase, again, I don't see anything above 5,000. So I'm not quite sure where the hell these people got these 5,000 prints. Maybe they were heading over to OKCoin. I thought it was interesting. OKCoin, that last night's move had a little bit of a cup and handle to it. And you can see that I think actually that cup and handle target was almost perfectly tagged, and then it just collapsed. Crazy trading, up and down like a horse jars. So I'm a little perplexed at where all these 5,000 prints. Maybe it was the Chinese market that they were getting these prints from, because I didn't see it. And I don't know, did Phoenix print 5,000? No, I don't see it on Phoenix either. So I'm a little stumped by that. And I don't know, maybe that was a little bit of a trap. I don't know, it's tough to say. Okay, so with that said, believe it or not, I could actually see higher time frame players, like I said, they got their orders actually sitting, waiting to buy here. And it'd be interesting to look at the profile on this time perspective. Let's see. Actually, that's not the one I wanted. I want this one. Ah, there we go. Actually, yeah, and we've talked about this recently. Do you guys remember when we were breaking out here? We had, I don't know what chart it is. We had talked a little bit about how the profile was looking awfully thin up here. And, if we ever, after this video, I might even throw this chart in the lounge, right? You can clearly see where the shelf of value is here. And it sure looks to me like there's some unfinished business right in this area. And gee whiz, do you see how that's the old breakout? So what's going to end up happening here, and the irony of it all is I think actually we could even draw a trend line off of this high back to that high, and there you go. I wouldn't even be surprised if actually we take the weekend, and this is, you can see, this is not very many days here. I could very easily see us take the weekend and just sort of play around in this area for a while. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. I suppose also, too, we could draw a little fib off of that high to that low, and oh boy, we've been talking a lot about this 38.2 lately, eh? You guys notice that? So, if anything, can you guys see the trade location anecdotes starting to build here? We got trend line off of the old highs. We've got the old high. We've got the 200 period moving average on that 60-minute chart. We've got 38.2. We've got value high. We've got a big old MUOC that needs filling in. Sounds to me like, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we did a little fibbo off of this range. Yeah, there you go. So this actually becomes a reload zone off of just this range. So does it make sense, guys? What do you think? Looking at this image, does it make sense that, and actually we had drawn these trend lines a while ago, right? This trend line was drawn off of this original market structure bottom here. And I had drawn and projected off of there, and I noticed that that sure played very interestingly. Then I had drawn a simple trend line extension study off of those highs and just asked where resistance would be. Does that make sense, guys? That it sure looks like we're sort of trapped in this wedge right now. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Pretty wide range, isn't it? See if I can get that chart back on here. Yeah, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised too if this is a top. Remember our buddy Roham, right? And his cousin, right? And I think she had made like some big prognostication that 4,800 was supposed to be a pretty big level. It is interesting too now, you know, especially coming out of the holiday weekend. What they may be doing here is they may be setting up an institutional trade level here. So do you notice how, you know, if we go into RLZ ping pong, we better get the cat gifts out, right? All that kind of fun stuff. Can you see how, you know, I don't know where the bottom is here. I've just eyeballed this off of this low. It is interesting how that was a total mountain man tag there, eh? Son of a bitch. Hate that guy. He always is making money. It's ridiculous. He doesn't even trade Bitcoin and he's making money trading Bitcoin. What the fuck? So I guess you guys didn't find that funny. That used to be a running joke I used to have. God, I haven't even talked to those guys and now I can say years. That's scary. Oh boy. All right, so the point of the matter here is I think we can start seeing some ranges developing here. I definitely think we're coming into some support. You can see value. We're dipping in here. Actually, and it was interesting last night. I couldn't give a rat's ass. You know, I mean, if they tell me I'm not a good person, do I really care? I mean, we've made so much money, especially a guy like you, Da Vinci. God, you're sitting on all the money in the world. Who cares what the public thinks? I'm sick of this. You know, the long and short of it here is we're here to have fun, right? Not here to be politically correct. I hate that. And it was interesting. What I noticed in the lounge yesterday, did everybody notice yesterday? We were joking about this. I started in yesterday's daily brief. You could start to hear the swears coming out. And I was like, oh, this is a tell. Brian better stay off of Twitter. Don't insult anybody. So funny. But I'm here to have fun. And moms and pops, if you can't handle the swears every now and then, I apologize, but the long and short of it is I think my community will attest I'm a pretty good person. I have a lot of confidence in my skill set, and if you find value in what I have to say, great, awesome. If you don't, I'm not going to be insulted if you don't watch. Okay, now back to the story. So I think this is sort of our playground for the next little while. Notice this pretty big tail here, right? Do you see how they've kind of set a trap here? And notice this funny tail here too. If we lose this level, remember we talked about look left, right? We can see the next key support level, and gee whiz, there's good old Kavark and Kevin sitting at a 78.6. To be honest with you, if you are hunting setups through here, I think this is going to be choppy in here. This is going to be messy. That's my hunch. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I think it's going to be messy. And I wouldn't be surprised. You see where 38.2 is now. You can see where 13 EMA here is on the hourly. It almost looks to me like we have a moving average sandwich developing here. So you can see where the 200 SMA is. That's going to be your sloppy bottom, and it's going to be messy, and they're going to try and screw with the public, and they're going to try and run stops, and they're going to try and flush out weak bottom callers' hands. You know the game. And you can see 13 EMA is going to act as your fast resistance. But really, I wouldn't be surprised at 30 SMA we do something like that. Right, and you can see where 38.2 is here. Like I said, this is going to be chop Vegas for a bit. What's kind of sad is I think, you know, the pros, you can actually see the AB equals CD forming here. So, you know, be careful. I don't see any reason for us to get superly bullish just as of yet. Whoops. If anything, I can also see AB. Let's go point to point. CD, which takes us, oh, look at that. That's just sick. You guys see that? You think that's an accident? I don't. So you can see the harmonic is also projecting. And what a coincidence. That's going to be right off the midpoint of that RLZ. So, you know, this is sort of what we've got to look forward to. Okay. And it was interesting. I was mentioning this in the lounge yesterday, well, this morning. There was somebody in the lounge last night, and this is what I absolutely love about our community, guys, is on balance, and this is the great part about it, because, you know, through the school program, we quickly weed out the dicks. So what ends up happening is in our lounge, fantastic information we're sharing with each other. Somebody last night posted, yep, okay, I hit my profit objective, next stop 4,500. And I looked at my chart and I go, damn, nice call. And so you don't necessarily have to be listening to Brian. I mean, I love the community and how we have that sort of 1 + 1 = 3 kind of stuff working here. It's just, oh, it's the bestest. So that's sort of what I'm thinking is going to be our fate over the next day or two. I think maybe, you know, because this is the holiday weekend, Monday's going to be a funny day. We might do another in-house broiler chicken show tomorrow. So true. I've worked those jobs. Maybe that explains my numbness to them. Oh, okay. All right, I'm sort of jumping in mid-conversation there, sorry. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So the point of the matter here is, you know, I want you guys to leave today's video at the very least with some levels to think about. Clearly, we have a big, big battle here at the old breakout level. We talked a little bit about Wyckoff. We talked a little bit about open orders working. So it wouldn't surprise me that players, not only 38.2, this smaller reload zone, top of value, trendline support. I think there's a pretty good case to look for some sort of pivot, especially this older trend line I've been following, some sort of pivot through here. If they just, you know, my hunch is, if anything, because of the AB = CD, I think this is almost a foregone conclusion now. Once this harmonic is played out, my hunch is they'll probably want to maybe at the very least do a 38.2 to, you know, maybe set up the next harmonic, which might just have to take us right back down to 4Gs. That's totally possible. So that's sort of what my thinking and what my sort of roadmap-y sort of thought pattern would be over the next, I don't know, let's say 24 hours, 48 hours. Yeah, supporting that sort of bottoming thesis down in here, you can start to see momentum is starting to slowly put in some divergence. We're not anywhere near stupid yet, though, so we got to be cognizant that the market could still work its way a bit lower here. Don't really see any signs that the bulls are coming back yet. But if anything, we're starting to see the very initial signs that the bear might be falling asleep. But still a bit early for us to be thinking that. So I don't know. What do you think, guys? Does that conversation help sort of your thinking here for the next, I don't know, 24 hours or so? Yeah, it is, Nick. So that's what we like to call divergence. And like I said, it is an encouraging sign in considering where we were. Remember we talked just a moment ago, Nick, about how Mountain Man would have just gotten his fill there? Do you see that, Nick? Maybe you haven't been on the site long enough. You haven't been introduced to guys like Mountain Man. But this son of a bitch was one of the best crude oil traders I ever met. And he basically just takes that trade, not even thinking twice. He's going to hit that. His name is Brandon Rigo. He works at my old prop firm. I don't know whether he's still there or not, but he was there for a while. And, you know, especially considering this low here, you know, this might even be like a Sebastian SFU setup kind of idea as well. Okay, actually, quick look at ET. USD. Oh, ETH. Actually, that's sort of the second part of the conversation that I wanted to have with you guys today. So I think hopefully everybody has a pretty good idea what I'm thinking about Bitcoin. Does that make sense? Everybody sort of, all right, that makes sense. All right, good. I'm sort of telling you what to think here. You know, up top here, you know, considering what we saw in Japan, considering RAF's, you know, head and shoulders targets, you know, I think it made sense looking for a toppy up here. The market usually breaks, and it usually breaks pretty hard, and sure enough, bang, the break came really fast. If anything, you know, guys, this is a really good lesson that as long as the market's moving up, and here's Brian, wait a minute, didn't you just say you were done, Bitcoin? One more thought, okay? As long as the market's moving up, it's incredible how everybody's like, okay, Bitcoin's a bull, Bitcoin's a bull, 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 bull. But then instantly, oh, that wasn't a very good snap. Let's try that again. That's better. Instantly, she can roll over, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, holy crap, who just pulled the floor out from underneath this market, right? If anything, that's sort of the, you know, we got to expect that. This, you know, these kind of charts that look like this isn't going to end with just some nice, quiet, you know, everybody gets an alert, okay, exit your trades, you know. If anything, you know, this is a great testament to little old lady where she just doesn't even think about levels. And sure enough, you know, we often joke about this, how these damn little old lady levels just stop these bull runs on a dime. Well, that's not an accident. There's probably quite a few people that were actually selling at that level too. So, you know, please be cognizant of the fact that this is going to be extremely volatile. You can see just on the weekly charts, 38.2 alone is 3,700 bucks, right? So, you know, strap on your seatbelts, trade your trading plans, trade your setups, and for Pete's sake, when those profit levels come in, you better get paid for your hard work. Okay, now let's head over to this, and actually, this is even a better conversation about this. I thought it was really interesting, like I put this tweet out. I thought this is a really interesting anecdote, not only of how fast, you know, well, no, how markets can move up and down like a horse drawer, especially in super high speculative venture capital market like crypto. But really good tell about things like, you know, what was interesting about the bot setup, and you can see here we had a nice like double bottom off the 25 level. It went up to hit this move stop to scratch level and then came down and hit that level. And so, you know, those people that actually took this bot level, I actually wouldn't, I would respect them if they just said, you know what, Brian, I think I'm probably just going to leave this one alone. And in a weird sort of way, this might be what this was sort of pretending, that, you know what, this is a pretty dangerous market. So for those people that had just traded this and said, you know what, it hit stop to scratch, I just walked away at scratch, I wouldn't have a problem with that whatsoever. You also notice too that we put in a pretty powerful reversal off of the 25 level. And I did have some people say, well, Brian, if it does reverse off of this level, can I just go and re-enter the trade? And I was like, yeah, I suppose you can. Yeah, what games you play, Brian? I see the Blizzard icon. Well, I sure am glad I don't have any porn on here. Damn. Jeez, you guys, and actually, Sjord has often said that too. Is, you know, you better be careful when you log on to sites and stuff. People actually pay attention to what they see on your screen. So, yeah, I like to play the World of Warcraft to distract myself. It works as an excellent distraction, especially, you know, I used to work, this is a great anecdote, Kale. I used to, you know, we actually on the charts, I'll put this icon every once in a while, and let's see if anybody can remember this guy. Who's this icon? Here I am. I'm gonna buy below value because I'm cheap, but I make a lot of money as a trader. Ha ha ha! I'm gonna steal your money. That's Hogue, right? That's Kale. Just so you know, this is our icon for John Hoagland. And actually, you know, I saw a picture of him the other day. Let's see if I can find that for you, just so you know who the hell it is I'm talking about. I think I had it over here. Where are you, Mr. Hoagland? There he is. Okay, how am I going to do this? So this was John Hoagland. You can sort of see him, not really that well there. And I don't know whether you can see that or not. Maybe, maybe not. There he is. All right, so you got a nice face shot. There he is. Actually, look at that. He's got some gray hair. Jeez, it's been a few years since I talked to him. Anyway, so there he is. Right now, look at the icon. Doesn't that like totally look like him? I thought that was hilarious when I saw that. So anyway, that's the is that GitHub? Is that their official logo? I don't know. Anyway, so if you see that on our charts, it's our John Hoagland reference. Anyway, he's a 35-year floor veteran. Basically, the guy who taught me volume profile. And that's what this study is. He's notorious for buying below value and selling above value. You might have been staring at the charts too long. Oh, really, Tom? Jeez, Tom's tough on me lately. All right, so point of the matter here is, this, you know, I thought, if anything, at the very least, this is an excellent example of why when trades start working in your favor, it's not a bad idea to build rules in your setups to try and, you know, when you hit certain levels. And I think, you know, 2/3 of the profit objective, if you start getting up into that, look at, we've gone, you know, well over halfway. We're actually approaching 3/4 of the way to the target, that you actually start thinking about, you know what, if the market starts to break, I'm just going to get the hell out of here. So, you know, on the bot in particular, at 66%, it starts telling you, hey, you know what, start at the very least, lock in profits just in case if all hell breaks loose, you make some money on the trade. And at the very least, keep in mind, you know, on the bot, when you hit the 50% level, and I suppose that would have happened here if you had re-entered this, you're going to stop at scratch anyway, right? You should have, you know, cardinal rule, especially people out there watching on YouTube, cardinal rule for us. Hey, is that my TST buddy, Beamer USA? Are you? I haven't seen you in forever. Over watching on the YouTube page. Anyway, he and I actually used to work at TST. I think he still is at TST trying to get funded. Gotta hand it to him. I mean, he's tenacious. But anyway, the point that I would just make here is that I think what we had was a scenario, and I don't know, did you guys see the news? Basically, and I tweeted it out, wherever the hell that screen is. There's actually now starting to be like this funny little backwash. This year. I don't know whether you guys saw this. And see, you guys are so much smarter than I am when it comes to, you know, the actual ICOs and stuff like that. But do you see what's happening here? I thought this was fascinating. So there's actually, you know, it's almost like the tide, right? Tide goes in, tide goes out, tide goes in. And, you know, this, if we want to be, you know, there's a big difference, and it's really important that the public understand this. There is nothing wrong with investing your hard-earned money in stories. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And if you are an investor, great. You have to build your plan to be able to handle very wild swings in prices. Yeah, I think that's a good idea too, Kale. Kale says, I think that the non-talent hack ICO should be filtered out. I second that motion. But, you know, this is capitalism. And the sad part about it, guys, and you need to understand this, is that the public is just going to come in and buy everything and anything that they're spoon-fed in euphoric peaks. That's exactly what happened in the spring. And it's why I got into so much trouble in the public chat rooms and stuff. Is that I would be interpreted as being insulting, when really I'm just like, why are you people buying this stuff? This is insanity. You know. So, but anyway, what can you do? I thought this was and if anything, this is where fundamentals meet technicals, right? Rational investing. When I start seeing this kind of talk about actual this sort of wave, this trend unwinding, it actually lines up nicely with what we're seeing TA wise. So that was not a good development whatsoever on ETH. Little bit dangerous in my opinion. Now the interesting thing here though is, does it make sense, guys? Can you see how they have literally created a correction window for this thing now? You know, this is valuing it in US dollars. What I find interesting too, remember, is that old AB equals CD target here, it never was validated. I wonder if the market will go down and flush these lows. But as it stands right now on something like Ethereum, right? I put welcome to the jungle. This could get a little bit painful here. Remember, we were just talking about value levels with Bitcoin. If we just look at the distribution of the volume this whole cycle here, right? And you can see AB equals CDs, you can see RAFs, heads and shoulders is and all that. You can see where old reload zones are. I was actually surprised. I thought they were going to take this thing to new highs. But, you know, with that fundamental event, holy geez, that just kicked the wind out of the market. And the interesting thing is, if we just, well, let's use this low. Whoops, not that one. We'll use this low just for reference right now. Can you see how, you know, you can see where the POC is. It's pretty straightforward stuff. You just got to be able to get your drawing tools to work correctly. Right? And all I'm doing here is, and really what I want to do is, I just want to study the volume distribution since this bottom, right? Where has the average buyer bought through here? Well, it turns out it's right down in here. And if I'm not mistaken, did I get that right? Yeah, that's close enough. You see how our reload zone is basically going to be right where all the institutions are long. And if anything, you know, especially the public, if you're watching this and you're kind of like, yeah, Brian, listening to your rant, opinionated, but just give me something that I can use, right? Give me tools that I can use. Hopefully what we start to see is, if we just draw a nice simple fib off of this high back to this low, we start to see, number one, reload zone 61.8 to 78.6. And then number two, this is what we call value, right? And quite literally, you can see that as the market was moving up here, we just didn't have that many new buyers coming in. Notice too how we have this mini little profile right off of the 38.2. So what I usually do on the site is I'll do a box like this. I'll color that blue. And who can tell me, what do we call the 38.2? Anyone? First stop. Way to go, Casey. Woohoo! And quite literally, that's just going to be a backing up against all of these lows in here. What do you think the odds are that we draw a reload zone? It's going to line up with that 38.2. And the odds are probably pretty high. Let's see what happens. And everybody, while you're watching this on YouTube, you can do this. No reason why you can't. There's 78.6. There's 38.2. And there's right off of that little mini POC. So we've given you something in Bitcoin to chew on for levels. Here are your Ethereum levels. Isn't that cool? Cool bananas, man. So probably, and also too, this is a psychological number, $300, big fat round number. So if you're hunting for longs on Ethereum, right, and you can see the original double bottom here, and that was off the original bot entry level. If you're going to be hunting setups, I think this area, and again, just like we said with Bitcoin, understand this is going to be choppy. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of a counter trend rally that sort of sets up a AB equals CD, right? Something like there to there. And if that is the low of this, and we're expecting a move down into there, then we're probably going to get some sort of counter trend rally up into this area. So what do you think the odds are that this level here is probably a reload zone off of that range? Yeah, look at that. Not bad, eh? So hopefully everybody can see more cat gift ping pong. All right, so if you want some levels to work with on good old Ethereum, I think there you go. It's not bad, something like that. So it looks to me like the buy side is, probably dips below 300 would be totally slick. Right against these candle body lows, right in there. Ooh, that would just be sexalicious. Hey, where's Jamie? And his sexalicious. It would also be the filling in of this notch here, which makes sense. Counter trend rallies up into the 375 area too, and against this original market structure top. I wouldn't be surprised though if this low is probably going to be a pretty damn big level here going forward. If you are shorting inclined, that's probably the area I'd be thinking about, especially up against this POC here. You can see the ping pong levels too here on the profile. Right? You can see this is the sad part about it is, guys, can you see how this is kind of like no man's land in here? It's like a big air pocket. And I wouldn't be surprised if over the next while, right, we just zoom back and forth to fill in this air pocket. Make sense? It's gonna be pretty wild. Interesting how they couldn't tag Mountain. I bet before the day's over, they come down and tag Mountain. I wouldn't be surprised. A bit surprising, actually, that they put the bottom in right here. I guess, ooh, we got a nice hard candle body closed low there. That's a nice railroad tracks there. So I suppose I can understand why that was a level there. But yeah, all right. So that sort of is, and yeah, that's the point of this, right? And Nick, you make that perfect distinction, right? Is really, and please, people on YouTube, understand this. This is just one technician's opinion. What do you guys think Brian's opinion of opinions are? So watch this with a big old shaker of salt. Try and build your trading plans. Position yourself appropriately. Don't take too much risk on any one trade. And just business as usual. Okay, so that's sort of what I'm thinking. Bitcoin, Ethereum. I suppose we could take a few minutes and take a look at a couple of your ideas if you want. Anybody want me to look at anything in particular? XLM. All right, let's see what we got here. XLM. Bittrex. Oh, this is this little lumens. Yeah, we like this thing here, don't we? I think we do. It's not a bad little name to look at. If I understand correctly, there's supposed to be a big, actually, end of the airdrop, right? If anything, here's a good example where that air pocket, right? You just, we accept it back into value, got to come back down to value low. I'm not even quite sure where value low is on this chart. Little dangerous. And if I'm not mistaken, I think also too there was a bit of a price gap or something on this down here. I wouldn't have a problem bidding down here. Right? It's interesting how there's just no volume down here at all. So it doesn't look like anybody's really interested in doing any business down here. So that's probably the area that you really want to focus in on. And I guess it doesn't surprise me that every time it dips down into this area, somebody says, get your ass out of there. Get your ass out of there. I said, get your ass out of there. Right? No? All right, fine. But yeah, I don't have a problem buying into this. Don't have a problem whatsoever. Me and a few others are in at low 400. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good trade location. So that one's actually pretty easy. And go back and watch in the daily briefs. We got tons of that. We've talked about this tons. In fact, last weekend show we did a whole review on this thing. Gap at 399. Thank you, Garrett. There you go. So Garrett's even giving you a level where there's a gap. So Merry Christmas. Everybody send Garrett a nice Christmas bouquet. I think I even see a gap down. Oh yeah, there it is right there, right? So you want to be cheeky. There's also another gap right there, right? 427. That might be threading the needle here, though, right? I don't know how intensive you guys want to get at this. For little old ladies, try and keep it simple, stupid. I wouldn't have a problem just going and just grab some here, just done, right? 461, done. That makes it pretty easy. You guys who want to, thread the needle, grab the bottom. Probably a good idea to wait for things like momentum and stuff off of these lower time frames. You can see Willie's not quite stupid yet. You can see OBV's rolled over here. So, she's heading down. Be a little bit more selective on your timing. But excellent point, Garrett, down there, the gap down there around 400. But little old ladies, I wouldn't have a problem. Just go grab some of this. I mean, the irony of it all is when this thing gets going, there is, in fact, from like 300-400, this is a 10-bagger. Again, this is exactly, hopefully you guys can see, this is basically the stories when the kids next spring on Twitter are going to be like, Lambos, 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 right? It's when this thing's going fucking nuts and rallying up into these original levels, right? It's going to be like a 10-fold, 15-fold increase, right? Does that make sense? Right now, while it's basing, nobody's interested. Right? Anyone? Does that make sense? I don't know. Call me stupid. If anything, considering the time of year, and we did this on a few coins here recently, is we just sort of say, like seasonally, this really isn't the best time of year. Could this thing take a pause? And what sort of some realistic levels? Maybe it might even look something like, usually into the new year. This might very easily look something like that. Totally. And here's the kick in the pants, right? People in crypto have like a short-term attention span, like 15 minutes, and it's like, come on, I want to be off on the other on another story, right? They lose their attention very quickly. A guy like me, I have no problem whatsoever just slowly going in here and nibbling and nibbling and nibbling and nibbling and nibbling. And then in the spring when this thing goes nuts, and they usually do, right? Buy when it snows, sell when it goes. That's when you're banging them off all up in this area. So that's sort of the way I'd be thinking about a lot of these altcoin markets right now. I'm still pretty heavily Bitcoin rich, right? I mean, I got a whack of Bitcoin to spend. Somebody was asking me, I got easily a good 7 or 8 Bitcoins. You know, keep in mind I do like 0.2 purchases right now. So I got a lot of buying that I have to do over the next 3 or 4 months. That's the irony of it all, eh? Is I actually look at it and I go, oh, Jesus, look how much buying I have to do. God damn it. So I'm going to be busy over the next 3 or 4 months. And this is just exactly the same thing as last year. As you know, maybe Bitcoin's going absolutely nuts, right? Into the November cycle peak, kind of like what we were expecting off of this chart. I'm thinking Bitcoin tops here November, December, right? Into that peak, that's actually when I expect a lot of these altcoins to really. And this is the weird thing about this space, guys, and I don't get it. But literally, when Bitcoin goes into Facebook mode like that, and everybody's going to be focused on, they're just going to be giving this shit away. They will literally be just, and I used to see the same thing in the stock market. It's really not a big surprise. And if you understand the way the tax system works and the whole idea of tax loss selling, then it makes perfect sense. So, you know, through this window, and I'm going to go very, very slowly. I'm in no hurry whatsoever. I just nibble, 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 nibble. That's basically what my sort of game plan is. Now, if my nibbles happen to double in the interim, well, I'll take profits, and a profit is a profit is a profit. But I'm not really in, if anything, ironically enough, for the next 3 or 4 months, I'm actually going to be in accumulation mode, not distribution, right? This was the distribution mode up here. So. All right, so hopefully that helps explain what I'm thinking there. Dash, geez, I haven't looked at Dash in a while. If anything, you know, we had talked about Dash. Dash? Can Brian spell? We talked about Dash as sort of our altcoin proxy that seems to be moving a few months ahead of everybody else. I was encouraged by the fact that we actually did put in this market structure bottom, and as you can see from the last time we looked at this chart, we're sort of feeling like, hey, maybe we got a bullish bot set up here and this thing's getting ready to rock and roll again. You never know in this crazy game. And if anything, this is why we build trading plans and identify the setups that we're going to trade. And really, just as our job as traders is not to have an opinion. Don't have an opinion. It's a waste of time. Our job is just simply to trade our setups. So, I mean, I have no idea whether this setup's going to work or not, but I do see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this huge reversal low, 5 key lows to work our stops against, and you can see where the bot entry level is, and you can see where it's gunning for. Does it get there? I have no fucking clue. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm sorry. But I do know that the bot, generally speaking, it works pretty damn well. And it definitely meets the statistical requirements for me and my setup vetting process. So if you had taken this, and this would be like more investing, if anything, you know, this is like off of like a weekly chart kind of levels. Yeah, see, something like that. I think that's probably the chart that I had originally drawn up. But you know, can the lower time frame day traders consider taking this trade setup? I don't think so. I think if anything, and this is why, you know, on the site, what I like to do is side by side, we'll have the daily chart right beside the hourly. And if we look at the hourly, I bet you this looks like a train wreck. So we had a bot go from here to here, here to here, gave you the entry there. Looks like we had the market move up to move stop to trailing. And you can clearly see the market structure failure up here. So my hunch is that, you know, that day trades, well, not day trades, we'll call it a swing trade. In fact, actually, there was somebody on the site that was saying, and I was asking them, I think they were relatively new to trading, and I was like, okay, well, what does your trading plan look like? What type of trader are you? Are you a swing trader? Are you a day trader? Are you an investor? Are you, you know, a little old lady? Are you a margin trader? Are you a derivatives trader? I mean, who are you? What do you do? And his answer was, well, I like to consider myself swing trader. So if that's the case, I really like to work off of things like the hourly 4-hour charts here. And I think this is probably a perfectly valid swing trade. You can see the momentum push up here. And this is the reason why I like to work with the bot, because all the bot does is it just identifies levels, right? So at this point on this trade setup hit, you just at the very least say, well, okay, I swung my way in here. If this thing craps out and comes back to scratch like that ETH, I'm just going to walk away. In this particular case, we went zooming all the way up to move stop to trailing level. And you can clearly see what type of market in transition structure is this. See if anybody in our audience can tell me. Anyone? Anyone? Aha! What's aha? Oh, HS. Head and shoulders? Is that what you're thinking, Casey? If that's what you're thinking, you, my friend, would be correct. So hopefully everybody can see this. So we definitely had some sort of structural failure here. It's kind of a shame, right? I mean, you can see where it failed. Doink. So I wouldn't have a problem if bot traders were just like, you know what, Brian, this is too heavy. I'm getting the hell out of here. Perfectly fine by me. And if anything, that makes perfect sense. Had a little bit of a bottom come in here. You can see they really tried to market the, get the market to bottom here. Maybe a little bit of a trap. I don't know. Is this a half decent trade location to be buying? Yeah, it's a bit suspect. It kind of looks middle of the road. I don't know whether, I'm a big fan of trying to buy and reload zones. And of course, Kvarks, we're going to try and bid against 78.6. So if I see this low up to this high and I draw my reload zone, that sort of says I should be hunting setups there. So I don't know whether I would have been too big of a fan taking this setup here. That's a bit tough. Hindsight's 2020. Had you taken that setup, boom, you're stopped out. See you later. Get the fuck out. Thank you very much. But long and short of it here is we're coming back down into the POC, right, which is this original bottom here. Remember off the higher time frames, we have bullish setups working. So if you because of the higher time frame bullish setups working, if you want to start going into super stocking mode now that we're back into key support, you can see where the Kvark level is. It's basically just buying the POC and a nice play against this little trend line here. I think if anything, I really like the trade location here, and you're just going to risk against. Well, I suppose you could risk against these lows, but really I think you got to risk against this. Do we have any sort of W's coming in here right now? No, I don't see anything yet. Kind of just back and forthy. And if anything, the fact that they screwed over some retail people here pretty badly leads me to believe that I'm just going to, if anything, what I want to see is a nice saucer bottom. I give this some time to form out, please. So that's basically what I see on Dash. Somebody actually AMP looks really good. I was looking at that AMP earlier. In fact, somebody in the lounge asked me, he said, I don't have volume profile, Brian. Can you throw on some AMP charts so I can see what the hell's going on? And I was like, all right, fine. AMP. Oh, do we want to look at it on Polo or Trex? Polo, actually, I think has a better chart to analyze. I think you see the story. There's the bottom end of the range there. You can see still very distributed. But I did notice, and I had mentioned this earlier in the lounge, I did like the fact, do you see how we have these low volume bars here? Can everybody see how this is almost creating like a W? It's kind of tough to see. Let's see if I can show you. All right. So can you see? Oh, the volume pattern here, it goes down, then up, then down, and then woohoo! You see the W there? Does anybody see the W? That's a very powerful buy momentum signal, like buying pressure. Yeah, well, you can see it down in here too, right? So down, up, down, breakouts. Might even be a down, down, up, down, breakout. But the point here is that we started making higher highs on the buying bars instead of this consecutive pattern of lower highs on the buying bars. Can you see that difference? So yeah, this is like down, and just the bulls just kept losing steam, losing steam, losing steam. And then I noticed today, oh, hello, nurse. That's actually a really good signal. You know, they always say that volume leads price. So, and then of course we we have to be careful here because it's still pretty early in the day, right? This day still has another 6 to 8 hours to go. This son of a bitch might just lose it, and this becomes a red down day before the end of this day. So, you know, don't put the cart before the horse. Let's see how this day develops, but I was very encouraged by this pattern here. As well, you can see Willie is very stupid, very washed out. So, and you can also see too, we have this nice potential divergence forming. It's not confirmed yet. We really need to see price action pop through the top here to confirm this massive divergence. But it's encouraging. And, you know, the first signs of bottoms is we want to see the actual buyers starting to return here. So that's good to see. If we head on over to Trex, Trex had this funny tail that was just, it was pissing me off, for lack of a better term. You notice that Polo didn't have that tail, right? But we've been talking for quite a while, and you know the old adage, right? Wicks and tails like to be eaten. And so looking at this chart, I have to just simply conclude that this process here of just slowly working its way lower was nothing more than the process of eating this tail. And as I've said repeatedly in quite a few of our recent daily brief videos, I love buys against this tail here. Totally awesome in my opinion, totally fine. This also too, though, kind of like what we talked about now, I do like the fact that the buyers are coming back. You can see the bull bars are getting higher. That's very encouraging. But at the same time, this day is still young. And if they lose this and this turns into a red bar, then that's actually going to be very problematic. So let's see how the rest of this day develops here. On balance, as it stands, not bad. As candles go, though, themselves, you would ideally like this close to be greater than 50% of the range of this candle. So I'm a little bit concerned because if this actually closes as less than 50% and even closes near where it opened, what kind of candle does that produce? Daniel, you just did level 1. You should know that. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Jeremy. That'll produce a shooting star, which of course isn't really that bullish. So if anything, and also too, we just made a new low. Remember the process of eating that goddamn tail, it's a pain in the ass. Just made a new low. So at the very best, right, we have to wait for a new W to form. And then we can start talking structure. So I like this, and I do like to see this pattern. I sure would like to see this finish as a bullish day. Thank you very much. I think momentum-wise, it's set up. If these guys have any half-decent story, this thing's set up and ready to rock and roll. The question is, What's the story? Does anybody know what the hell the fundamentals are going on here? Somebody asked about this. Who asked about this? Change Society. Well, there's a name. Change Society. Are you still here? Yes. All right. So what the hell's the fundamental story here? Give me a reason to buy this thing? Do I get a free ice cream cone if I go and buy this? What's my motivation? Why do I want to buy this thing? Got their open beta at the 10th. Okay, that's not bad. That's better. Lambos. Free Lambo? Fucking A, man. Okay, so they got their stuff together. That's not really a fundamental driver. I do like that you're saying on the 10th, which isn't that far away, you're telling me, if I'm hearing correctly, that there is a fundamental event coming up on the 10th. Last 10th. What does that mean? Got their open beta at the 10th. So open beta August 10th. Unfortunately, what I see there is that was a buy the rumor, sell the news. 10-8. So if anything, what I interpret, my interpretation here is they put a bottom in here on anticipation of this event. The event happened. There were no fireworks. Nobody came out and said, "Woo, we're all rich, fucking A, party." And whoever bought the anticipation of that fundamental event, they just liquidated. It's good to see the buyers are coming back. That's encouraging. But give me a reason going forward. What is the fundamental driver that's going to get me to want to own this thing? You know, do they have any public presentations that might bring in new buyers? So I'm going to buy the rumor, and then on that public presentation, all those chumps, all those public, they're going to come in and buy the top, and they're going to buy my doubles. See how this game works, change? So I like what I'm seeing. Somebody's obviously trying to put a bottom in here, but give me a reason. You know, what's my driver? In fact, you know, we had a couple interesting ones. Too slow in writing English. I can't help you there, Chief. Have it ready for tomorrow, okay? Okay. What do you think, guys? Shall we call it a day? Was that fun to watch? Hope you guys enjoyed this. I don't know. Francis, German. Very good, thanks. Oh, okay, cool. Okay, and we've even given you a couple ideas to chew on, right? And I see that it says that there's 36 viewers, so anybody who's watching this on YouTube, if you can tell me what the fundamental reason is to own this damn thing, I'll buy it. P.S. I already own a whack of it. But I'll go and buy some more. All right, why don't we leave it at that? If you're hunting trade setups here, I think you still got to wait for this divergence to confirm. And I'd like to see some sort of structure and price to help me. If you're little old ladying this, awesome. Just go and buy some. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. But if you're trading setups, let's just maybe let this develop just a bit more. Okay. Free Lambos with every coin. Wow, every single one. I got 200, so I got a fleet of 200 Lambos. Fucking A, man. Awesome. I'm going to go play in the garage. All right, you guys have yourselves a great day. All the best. Always a pleasure chatting with you guys. See everybody in the lounge. Great talking as always. And I hope everybody on YouTube, you got some good value out of what we presented today, because I think on balance, we got the levels pretty taped here. So. All right, take it easy, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.